So, there's a big trend happening around consolidation of library and recreation services. We see it here today. And also, I think certainly we're beginning to see in the peninsula, police and fire cross-jurisdictional consolidations. And I wondered if you guys had some insight around that, what it might portend for libraries, even if you haven't had time to think about it. What's kind of the pros and cons of either consolidating libraries across jurisdictions versus staying at home and consolidating with recreation kind of programs?
Well, I've done a lot of those. Did recreation and library in San Leandro in the 91, 92 downturn, and it was subsequently, they were split off again when times got better, and I think that was represented not a full integration of those two departments. It was more an attempt to be cost effective and cost savings. We also consolidated, though, in that period, about 95, our fire department with Alameda County. Saved $1 million that first year just by eliminating a redundant station. And today that Alameda County Fire jurisdiction has picked up 4 more cities or 5. I'll just give you a cost savings factoid. This year, Newark and Union City joined Alameda County Fire. The city of San Leandro saved $400,000 on their overhead charge. And so you start to look at the cost of fire chiefs, whatever, department heads, and those sorts of things, and you spread them over 19 jurisdictions in Alameda County, et cetera. So there's a huge change there. And we also see we're doing a consolidation of the police departments, Millbrae, San Bruno. There are 2 contiguous cities that have been sharing a chief, that they're moving together. They're working that out now. You see it on the peninsula in varieties of ways. Back to the county, Cal Fire, those sorts of changes are essential because of the economy of scale, I think. In the longer term, my sense is that it may be preferable, quite frankly, to have the expertise sustained within the organization. And I'm not sure, I know there can be a good blending of rec and library, but I'm not sure that trying to accommodate some more scale in a different way and maintaining the library might not be, preferable over the longer term. It's hard to say because it's a change that's really, just sort of again being popular again. Whenever it falls off the cliff, it gets popular.
It's a time to take advantage.
Exactly.
The way you save money is eliminating overhead, eliminating costs that you don't need. The General Electric Company has a program they call the GWorkout, and it's a technique for that they use internally within GE, where a particular activity that they have, they're producing a product, let's say, and they look at their competitors and their price is way up here and the competitors are going down like this. They're saying, my goodness, to succeed in doing that business, we need to drive the cost down, or we need to improve our customer service, or we need to make some kind of radical change. So the GWorkout process that they developed to address that sort of business situation is to define clearly what the goals need to be. If we're going to stay in that business, we need to have our costs pegged at this point, we need to improve our customer service this way, we need to get to market faster, we need to develop new products faster, whatever the goals happen to be. And then to select the key leaders of the people who do the work in that business process, bring them together and say, your charge in the next 3 days is to give us, management, your best recommendations about how we accomplish those goals. Do whatever you have to do, but they lock them in a room, throw the key away, and say, come back and tell us in 3 days how to do that. That's the GWorkout process in a crude nutshell. We've used that kind of process, by the way, for reforming the development review process in cities, which is multi-departmental and which tends to drag and blah, blah, like that. Invariably what you're doing is taking work out. That's the name of the process. You're stopping doing things that aren't really essential to the end result. In the government world, we are not good at that. We hang on to every possible task. And I commented about this in my remarks at the conference, is that leading change in our world is very hard because public employees self-select into government service because they like the security of being comfortable and having a secure job. And so there have been a lot of studies of the psychology of this whole thing, and so we all want to be secure, so we go to work for government. That's a fact. That same motivation causes our employees to be more change averse than the average employees in Cisco Systems or Intel or someplace else. So our workforce is change averse. Our assignment is to lead these change averse people into doing radical change in these awful times. I mean, that's a very difficult kind of assignment. Part of change averseness, if that's the right word, is hanging on to work tasks, not volunteer. Well, we don't have to do that anymore because that's my job or part of my job. So people are really, that's really one of the hardest things about getting to a new era. Service sharing, either internally within a government or between governments, is an example of that. In this economy, that's newly of interest to a lot of people because people are desperate. So as a general management consulting firm, we've done a lot of work in this area. We did a project with the cities of Burbank, Glendale, and Pasadena that might be of interest, where the three cities are right next to each other. A lot of similarities between those three cities in terms of what they do and the character of the communities and all that sort of thing. So we thought, aha. And they were interested in doing service sharing between them. How do we share service delivery? Well, some things are more amenable to that and produce savings than others. But we went through, our methodology was to go through all three governments and look at what could you share. As the outside, no vested interest, we get to pick them, right? We identified 122 discrete activities that one way or another could be shared in a cost-effective way. That was the first cut. That's an enormous list. It's like our brain power. You know, we use 12% of our brain. Some of us use less. And well, I mean, it's the same kind of deal in service sharing. We could do a lot more than we do. But when you put it together and you streamline the systems, what you're doing is you're taking work out, you're eliminating jobs, and the jobs you eliminate are the support positions, as contrasted with the positions that do the real work. And that's hard to do because management is a support position.
Think of yourselves as overhead when you go back to work. I believe that was what you said. No, I think you did say that earlier, so I was just enjoying that thought. Actually, it's a good thought because it means every day you have to earn your earn your keep. You know, think about it that way. And I was interested in your comment, Mike, about San Leandro because there were a lot of libraries and Parks and Rec in that period. I remember Newport Beach, a bunch did it, and almost all of them undid it. And it seemed at the time, sometimes it was done because there was either a really good Parks and Rec director or a really good library director, and the other party was leading. And so, which I think you see some of here amongst you really good folks. But then it didn't stick. You know, the good person retired, our times got better. So I wondered if you had any kind of thoughts later about how it could have stuck, or, it'd be kind of an interesting study to do at this point with, what happened 20 years ago in some of those places. But I wondered if, from your experience.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm just sitting here reflecting on that. I think I am a believer in bringing in a non-expert, a generalist who doesn't have a commitment to either one, to manage it, to assist in ensuring that both parties are doing the best they can to ensure that they're delivering those services in a cost-effective way, or that one manager is responsible for that. So organizations are going to get flatter. There are going to be fewer chiefs and more Indians in that sense, and so those costs have to decrease. The question that I think is probably more important is how to solve it yourselves. If you really want to be popular with the city manager, come in and say, look, I've just figured out how I can hook up with an adjacent city or a different entity and do X, Y, and Z and provide this service in a different way. It may be different than you have traditionally, but it's going to realize cost savings and improve the sustainability, as Jerry talked about, of this entity. That's happening right now in the city of Napa. The police and fire chief are out talking to the county folks because they see the handwriting on the wall and they see the trends. And so I think those kinds of things, you can control your fate better if you're in charge of it and actually getting out there and pushing the edge of the envelope. And you may be seeing things down the road that the entity, the community can't see, but you know that's coming, and so you have the opportunity to try and craft your your fate.